How many photos do you take on a vacation? Are you the casual capturer who snaps a few obligatory photos in front of the most iconic landmarks? Or does your camera rarely leave your hands, documenting every sunset and breakfast pastry you encounter? However you capture the essence of your travels, we all want our pictures and videos to bring us back to a feeling. We want to see an image that reflects a specific moment. We want the souvenir snaps to retell a story and transport us back. Travel photography and videography can do all of the above when we focus on quality over quantity. Whether you're traveling light with a smartphone or you've got a professional camera with an extra lens in tow, a few tweaks can really upgrade your memory making. Today, I'm here with award-winning travel photographer, vlogger, and content creator, Juliana Broste. She shares how you can reshape your approach to travel photos and videos in order to take better quality shots, connect with your inner creative voice, and gain more confidence as a visual storyteller. Juliana Broste, thank you for coming to Traveling with AAA. It is so good to see you.
You too.
And I can't wait to talk to you because you are one of my favorite content creators, one of my favorite video makers of destinations, and you just do it so well. So I've wanted to have you on the podcast for ages because I know you're going to have really good tips for people on how to do it well when you're traveling, how to take good photos, how to take good videos. The last thing you want to do is get home and have junky videos.
Totally. Oh my
Right?
gosh. Yeah, and it's so funny because we go so far back, so it's really sweet because I feel like we've seen all the iterations of our careers go through the phases, and it's been exciting kind of seeing the industry explode. And from a point where taking pictures and video was so unique and special to now it's so everyday. Mm-hmm. And just kind of following that journey in time has been really exciting to be a part of that.
Well, truly, photography has gone through a lot in, let's say, 20 years.
Yeah.
How everything has changed. When I studied abroad in Paris, I took a photography class, and I had film.
Ooh.
We had to get film developed. That's unheard of, really, now, unless you're a specialized kind of photographer.
Yeah, the technology really dictates, and it timestamps you into your stories. Because I think of that too, my early times. Taking pictures with disposable cameras.
Yes.
We had to pay your own allowance money for the camera.
Yes.
And then pay for the developing. And it was such like a love.
Yes.
Because nobody was doing that.
Well, and you only had like 35 pictures.
Yeah.
That you're spending your allowance money on. And so you have to be very specific and very careful with what you're taking pictures of. But now it's limitless.
Yes, and that's a problem because now our camera rolls, like we keep upgrading our phones. We need more storage space. And is anybody actually looking at all those photos in your roll? Like it's just kind of overwhelming how easy it is to capture content, but you've got to be really organized and thoughtful.
Anybody younger than us, anybody who didn't grow up with sort of digital photos, they don't even know. Like my parents have 25 pictures of me. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's
Right,
more than
and
that.
that's enough.
But social media has changed how we do that, the amount of storage, the fact that it's all digital. Do you feel like it has changed the way we think about capturing a moment since we have unlimited options to do that?
Certainly after looking through a dozen photos, we sort of get tired. And so it's important to make sure you're hitting favorite and you're make sure that you're, selecting, putting like a folder called selects or favorites so that you can just really go back to the best of the best when you have short time.
I can distinctly remember as a kid, we would go to Disney World and we would take the video camera and it weighed like 400 pounds. And it was a whole you have to take the video camera right now. And we had to get a locker for it. And you had to have enough VHS tapes. This thing was huge and it was special to have.
So funny because when I was younger, I was the crazy person taking the big video camera, which was like a birthday present. And I would take it to document my best friends in high school, doing pranks, like going into the back of a fast food restaurant and pretending I was from CNN, all kinds of crazy stories in that video camera. But yes, I felt like it was so rare because nobody was having cameras back then and there wasn't even selfie mode. So that would be like my favorite invention over time was the selfie mode.
Yeah.
Having a flip around screen so you can see yourself in an arm's length, not being zoomed in on your nostrils.
Yes.
Being able to back up and get more of your neck and your shoulders shoulders in this selfie shot. I think that's been, for me, my favorite invention, selfies.
Well, and you're a solo traveler a lot of the time. You've written a lot about the joys of being a solo traveler.
Yeah.
But prior to the selfie, you were never really in your pictures necessarily unless you asked a stranger to take a photo, and that was even more complicated than it is now.
Yeah, you have to trust them, though, and there's a lot of things you get it back. You're like, ooh, I'm going to ask the next stranger to do it better.
You're like, that one is a no. That did not work. Well, we can talk about that as a tip, too.
Yeah, so that's why I really wanted to learn how to master the camera, because I didn't have anybody following me around, but I wanted to tell stories. And just being able to set up a tripod and know that I got the shot that I planned on getting, that for me has been a game changer.
Do you use a selfie stick or do you mostly have a tripod?
You know, I used to do the selfie stick because it was like attached to my camera. But I think lately, maybe because of technology, I've learned how to carefully purchase the right equipment that my short arm is actually long enough in most situations. Unfortunately, because of vertical video, sometimes I can't quite get far enough away to get that vertical shot. But I would say that the technology has made it possible so I don't have to carry the stick around. And also, it got more popular to have the selfie stick.
Yeah.
And then people by accident were like bumping into the Mona Lisa or other like mishaps with selfie sticks, like people not being aware of their area, their surroundings. So yeah, there have been a few, not great examples. So sometimes they're not allowed.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of places that don't allow selfie sticks.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about the difference in like vertical and horizontal and how social media has changed the way we think about the content we're going to get even before we go somewhere. Didn't really used to be like that. It was like I got my disposable camera and I'm just snapping away. Oh, look, Eiffel Tower. Oh, look, Arc de Triomphe. But now we go and we're like, okay, I need this style video for this platform and this style video for that platform. How does that affect the way you plan a trip?
There's definitely different tools if you're going to immediately like text it to a friend rather than I'm going to go home and make it perfect, edit it, and then crop it the way and then send it off, right? So I think just for me, having a clear goal has really helped me cut a lot of the stuff out. Like, okay, we're not making a video today. We're just doing just really thinking through what's my purpose. And, you know, we all love to share content, but we don't have to be influencers. So just knowing too, like, okay, I'm having dinner with my family. Is this a moment? You know, and I'm going shopping. Is that a moment? Like really thinking through like, when can you relax and when is it like that moment that you might want to share?
You might want to keep forever.
Yeah, because your life, like every moment could be an Instagram moment. And that's what I think is great about social media is it's brought the everyday more into the spotlight. So we can celebrate like, look at my daily coffee or look at this really pretty dessert that I'm celebrating. But I think also people are thoughtlessly capturing every coffee and every dessert. And then they're like, why? Why did I do that?
That brings me to my next question, which is kind of back to basics. What do you think are the main components of a great travel photo?
Ooh, the main components. You know, there's so many like by the book things I could recommend, like thinking about the rule of thirds, where you make kind of a hashtag through your photo and position things along the lines or the intersections, or leading lines, where the things in the photo draw attention to a certain area. And even shadow and light, like whatever is bright, whatever is dark, the bright thing's probably going to draw your attention. But I would say today it's actually really fun to break the rules. So once you know the rules, it makes sense. Like that's totally following the rule. And then you start to sort of do your own thing and make it artistic. I like to play with focus, especially for video. Like instead of having everything perfectly in focus, what if something in the background is in focus and then you rack into the subject as focus? And so little tricks like that, like playing with time. If you set up a tripod and you can see a bunch of people getting off of a train, that's so much more fun to see the time lapse of it being empty and then seeing it full and then empty again than if you're just like taking a photo of like random people in a weird position. So yeah, it's a lot of fun just to sort of take the rules and then kind of add a little spin or a style or a twist.
What would you say your style is?
I'm really interested in showing a place or even my own memories, but showing them with character and a way that shows that it was my memory. I like kind of when you shoot out of a window and you see a little piece of the window in, like the rear view mirror is like in the photo of the scenery, because it gives you that perspective. Like I was actually in the car, and I do it artistically so that the rear view mirror is a little bit out of focus. And so it gives you this like feeling of like a memory or a dream, like you're really in that car next to your friend or your family member who is driving. But I want to create memories that have a point of view and a voice and a story. I wanted to incorporate things that show like my point of view rather than making it like a generic point of view. So that's what I celebrate.
This is a AAA Travel Minute. I'm Kaylin Seigan, a AAA travel advisor. Between scanning mobile boarding passes, snapping pics, and posting on social media, you're probably using your phone way more than normal when you travel. While universal plugs like USB-A and USB-C are more commonly found these days, they're not always guaranteed, so it's a good idea to consider what you might need to keep your devices running. Stashing an external battery pack with your charging cables will give your phone extra juice, and it can be used for your other electronics too. Just be sure to top off your battery pack before heading out. If traveling to countries with different voltages, a multifunctional international adapter can convert the shape and size of a prong socket, allowing you to charge devices in electrical outlets in places like Europe, Australia, and Africa. The last thing anyone wants to see on vacation is that dreaded empty battery bar icon. So packing these tools will ensure you're fully charged.
You want your moment.
Yes.
Anybody can take a postcard picture of the monument, the Grand Canyon, the whatever, but you were the one who was there.
Yeah.
So how do you show that? Even if you're not the one in the picture, there's got to be something that tells a story more than just here's the location where I am. Because anybody can take that picture.
Yeah, Angie, that's such a good point though. Is there something else that inspires you, like having maybe a postcard in front of the actual moment, scenery with, just something? Or is there a souvenir? Like one time I was in London, and there's tourist shops and you can buy like the Big Ben everywhere.
Oh, yes.
But just putting Big Ben in front of real Big Ben was really fun. Just having
that's cute.
That
I
was
love that.
my way of doing that. And the little Eiffel Tower in front of the big Eiffel Tower. I like having those little touches. So
I do too. And like, you're not going to win a Pulitzer for it, but that's not what we're going for all the time. We're going for memories and something that's special to us, that when you show it to somebody and you could say, oh yeah, I bought this little Eiffel Tower at this shop and I met this person and it was so nice. And he told me about the place to get the best cappuccino. And then that's where the story is. I always want to take a picture of something that I haven't seen before. I want to see it from a different perspective. Then I want to find a way to take a picture nobody else ever took.
There's so many vantage points of the same thing. Like the Eiffel Tower looks so different from a high up city point of view than when you're underneath it, like staring up at it. So I also love to move around and just really like not stay still. Like we say that even for taking pictures and especially for video, I really try never to edit using the same shot twice. So I'm like, oh, how boring. I used that shot. So that forces you to move your feet and to walk far away and like take an escalator and get, just get some movement and, get bird's eye view looking down and lay on the ground and look up. So just getting as many creative shots really spices up your video and it makes more of a memory.
So you're taking your pictures, you're taking your videos. How do you turn this into a storytelling experience? Map all that out in your head, or do you wait till you get home and then kind of compile?
When you are capturing content, you have to start there. What is my story now? Because if you do wait till you get home, it's just a mess and you end up with so much stuff you're not going to use. So I do a lot of vlogging and telling my own story. Sometimes I don't know what's going to happen today. And so sometimes I'm like, oh, I should have shot that thing that I didn't shoot. And you're stuck with what you got. But on the other hand, if you shoot everything, not only are you going to be tired, too much footage, no batteries, you're never going to look at it. So just really knowing yourself, like, what am I actually focusing on? How much time am I actually going to spend in the edit bay later? And what's going to mean something. So even when I think of something I make a video, like an edited video for, I always feel so clear that like this is a video worthy experience, so that it's going to take like 3 times as longer than living the real experience to actually get that out on social media. So it has to be that good that you want to live that experience at least 3 more times.
What apps do you use and recommend for people who are wanting to turn their travel memories into stories?
I've used a program called Mylio, which actually allows you to attach every hard drive that you've ever had and put it into one catalog. Once everything's attached at the same time, it's actually so helpful to be able to now start to organize and categorize.
So helpful.
So yeah, that's one that I've totally fallen in love with having. Oh, wait, I could have access to every photo in my life right now? Wait a minute, hold the phone. AI is helping you search brown cabin, and it will find brown cabins, or looking for a potato. I don't know.
That is so helpful on, not everybody knows that on your phone, in your, in your album, in your photos, you're looking for a picture of your dog, right?
Yeah.
Or you're looking for a picture of a brown dog you saw in Paris. You can type brown dog and all the brown dogs in your 40,000 photos will pop up. It works so great because sometimes I don't remember when I took the picture or where I took the picture.
Yeah, just getting the library up into the area where you can really start to play,
Yeah, because you need to know what you have in order to use it.
Yeah.
I'm not great at organizing things. I'll have a lot of high hopes for what I'm going to do with the footage. And, I'll come back and make one video and then it'll just kind of sit for a long time. Do you have any tips on not doing that and how to just strategize better with what you bring home?
Well, for me, and I'm a professional, so this is my job, but I use Adobe Premiere Pro, and the genius of it is that it's the industry standard for video editing. And so is Lightroom, and so is Photoshop. So those are 3 tools that I have really spent time getting to know. When I was in high school, I learned whatever random program was on my computer for video editing, and it was awesome. But then the next year, that software never existed. At some point, I realized if I go with the standard, there's a reason why it's a standard, and it's lovely I can go back 10 years and open up a video editing project that I edited back then and still have access to all the tools, change the audio, change the music, rearrange the shots. So I like that you can always kind of like upgrade and keep it all in the same system for the long run.
What about somebody who it's not their profession, but they want to get into like experimenting with editing video, maybe on an app on their phone? So something easy. What would you recommend for a beginner?
Even in app, there are some incredible tools. Like if you edit in TikTok, they could do green screen and motion tracking and all kinds of cool stuff that used to take years to actually like master and learn.
No, it's just...
And now you can, my favorite fun tool is masking, where you can like duplicate yourself on the screen at the same time. And you sort of layer 3 or 4 video clips and you cut out like vertically or horizontally parts of the same shot. So it works best with it when you have a tripod. But it's crazy how you can do that on your phone now, right? And Instagram has editing software and you can just put stuff to music and edit on the beat.
That kind of brings us to a question about perfectionism. What is...
Don't ask me. This is my weakness.
Our weakness. It's hard. Like, how do you know when good enough is good enough?
Ooh, I know. I do struggle with that because it is such a passion. And when you're telling your own story, you have a different level of standards than if you're just doing something that has no meaning. So certainly you have to keep yourself in check, like setting a deadline, like I'm going to do this video once a week or every day or every other Monday, right? Just having some kind of goal does get it out the door. But it is a lot of fun to be in control of your story and the types of stories you want to share. So for me, it's important. I'm speaking to my audience, but my audience is also, and a majority, it's me. So I want to look back at this and be proud of it. And I want to feel like that was the best I could have done. Because I'm not going to post another hot air ballooning video about Cappadocia that's better than the one I posted today, right? I really want my memories to go back and feel like I owned that. That was mine. I did my best. What's next?
How do you feel about filters and AI? There's so many good AI tools. But if you've been on the internet lately, there's also just as many fake photos
I know.
as real ones. So what do you think?
That happened to me when I was in Uzbekistan. I was with 100 influencers. It was a special event. And we also got to meet the president. It was very cool. But I remember always wanting to get like some kind of time lapse of this cool building. And like, you know, you need clouds to make a cool time lapse. If it's just blue sky, it's not a cool time lapse. And I remember coming home, seeing someone else's photos, and I'm like, where did those clouds come from? I was waiting for you. And I realized they were like adding clouds later, like this, they were doing sky replacement. And at the time it was like unknown, but now it's very known that that's happening. So I think we're calling it content authenticity. We really want to make sure that if you're using AI or special powers, that it's being disclosed. Because wouldn't you hate to go to the pyramids and not know there's a parking lot next to the pyramids, you know? So I think there's a level of standing and pointing the camera in a certain direction that tells the story you want to tell. But it's also a little different if you're really changing the actual like expectation, especially for advertising.
Yes.
When it's not the true product.
Yes.
And I understand sometimes you go to a destination and you just had bad weather and you do want to quickly sky replacement, or you want to make it a little less hazy or a little more saturated. And, you know, there's definitely like a limit, a level to that as far as, ooh, is this too punchy? Does it, you know, so I think disclosure is important. And also just understanding that there are eventually, I hope, there will be some way to be able to click on something and know half of it or this part is not real. We deleted some people.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest culprit, is deleting people.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing if you wake up at 8 a.m. or 6 a.m. just to get the empty shot, and another when you're like, delete everybody. It's nice for like getting rid of distractions and like an exit sign or a weird, you know, trash can in the wrong place. But yeah, just knowing like, are we making art or are we doing journalism? I really love that the tools are here. It's so much fun to play. It's so cool to take your imagination into that world where you can create worlds that didn't exist, or get inspired, or come up with a shot list like that and not have to expense, you know, real drawings or whatever. But I do think there's still so much purpose and necessity to really get the real shot. So I think that will be the biggest change in our business right now, is just seeing, you know, where do the computers fit into the workflow of our everyday needs when it comes to creativity.
Yeah. Well, as a travel content creator, it's kind of our responsibility to tell people what to really expect. And if you take the parking lot out, if you take the trash can out, if you take everything out, then that's just not what people are going to experience. And so then they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
They're not going to trust you anymore because that was a fakeish photo. And yeah, I think when it comes to travel and telling a travel story, it's kind of important for it to be true, right?
Right. So I think maybe we put this line in the sand where it's like, you guys, you want to be artists, you're going to do perfect stuff and highly edit everything and make beautiful works of art.
Ideal images.
And then there's this other people who can claim their territory, like this is the real moment. And I think there's space for everybody right now, because that's the beauty of social media, is it has created this opening for the real, like the authentic.
I think a lot of people, professionals to amateur photographers, want to know, when you're planning a big trip, is a smartphone enough, or do people really need a big, fancy camera to make the great images?
Ooh. I mean, it's all in the eye of the beholder, you know, really being able to master the tool in your hands and celebrating that we have this power. So whether you choose to bring any tool, are you learning the skill to tell your story? Are you able to capture that moment in a way that you remember it later? And we have our own styles. Some people could not carry more than a carry-on, and they're not the type that's going to carry an extra lens or put a microphone or some tripod in their backpack, and that's fine. But I also think for me, like that is joy to have my tools and say, wow, well, this wide angle lens, I get to see the whole building, but I really can't close up on that cool, pretty window with the detail. And I get cranky because I'm like, I cannot get what I want. Knowing what your goals are and your style and celebrating like your skill set. I think a lot of people don't know what they don't know, right? So you are happy with the camera in your hands until you realize like, oh, if I buy that extra thing, mostly I would say different lenses. Just the sense of like the metaphor that we all have different points of view. And with lenses, it can change everything. Having, like, I could bring 3 or 4 or 10 different lenses and tell different stories with each lens. Even the widest of the wide angles, you look weird. Everything's like, it could just have this like really point of view vibe and you see everything in the shot. Some things close by even look far away. Whereas if you have a telephoto lens and you're zooming in on everything, you don't even see the context to where you are. So I don't know, this is actually one of my favorite questions to ask people if you're a camera person, is I'm like, if you could be any lens, what would you be?
Ooh.
Because it takes so much context to think through the artistry of like, well, I'm in this kind of mood. I'm macro lens. I like to look closely at things and I'm ignoring everything else. Or you're like wide angle where you're like, I see everything and not looking at anything in particular.
Yeah. Well, and it all depends where you are and what you're looking at and how often probably you're traveling or using these items. Because you don't want to spend $10,000 on a camera you're going to use once on your bucket list trip to wherever. I'm thinking like Kenya.
What kind of bucket list trip?
I'm thinking you go on a safari.
I would buy the big lens for the safari.
I would rent the big lens.
You would rent it?
Probably, if I'm only going to use it sparingly. You can rent lenses. I don't know if everybody knows that.
Yeah.
You can rent big, amazing cameras for your bucket list trip, and then you don't have to necessarily make that huge investment.
Oh, it's a great resource. Yeah, borrow lenses, lensrentals.com. You can just pick out a lens and they mail it to you and you keep it for a week and you send it back. So it is fun to taste test. But yes, you know what? Like a cuisine, like all different flavors in the world, so are the lenses. And having a different lens is a different tool. And so it's a lot of fun. You really should rent so that you could try it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get hooked.
Do you think that sort of the average traveler probably takes too many pictures on vacation?
Maybe. Okay, I'll tell you what. Like, for example, I know people who don't take any pictures and I get annoyed and I'm like, how? Some people it just isn't a priority. So I understand both sides. But I'm on the other end of the spectrum and I'm the one who's taking a lot. And here's the thing. Anyone who has a camera, this is for you. Put your camera down sometimes. Because if you're in an incredible situation, you're on safari in Africa, and it's so easy to grab your phone and just snap away, and you never look at the thing with your own eyes.
Yeah.
And that is so important to do both is, again, what is the purpose? What is your point? And also having the real experience and letting that image and video represent the real experience. Because we're not just there for the Instagram photo. And that's, I think, a problem these days.
Yeah.
I think people are traveling the world just for the Instagram shot, and they're not actually experiencing the culture. In the big scope of it, I celebrate and love that there are so many creative photo memory opportunities out there. But also just like anything in travel, it's all personal. It's based on what your priorities are and your budget and your interests and your values. But yes, also understanding too, like it's becoming its own industry where you can go on photo tours and get tips, and there's so many great ways to do it, and it's up to you how you want to explore that.
If this episode has inspired you to explore and expand your travel photography and video making skills, then be sure to join us next week. In our next episode, Juliana shares her top 5 tips for taking great travel pictures and videos. Juliana Broste, thank you for joining us. And thank you, listeners, for being with us. If you're planning a trip, be sure to connect with a AAA travel advisor. Check out AAA.com/travel or visit your local branch. This podcast is a production of Auto Club Enterprises. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave us a review. I'm Angie Orth. Thank you for traveling with AAA.